Hello hunters and welcome back. We are here day 2 for the Gamescom Developer Livestream from the Monster Hunter team, which is really exciting. It has been very busy for me, both at the job and in my personal life, so I have only just showered. You will have to excuse me for having long stringy wet hair, but this is too good to pass up. Now, this is going to follow up the video that I dropped yesterday. I'm not used to doing info drops so close together, but I will put a tile card up here so you can see that video. Feel free to watch that video. That's actually going to have the bulk of my observations and what I was able to take away from the gameplay from the day 1 live stream, and this is day 2. There's another one tomorrow. I'm excited about that. I'm not sure if there's going to be a whole lot new, but this one should be shorter given that this is more or less the clarification or supplemental information that I was able to glean from the multiplayer session between the Monster Hunter directors and Jonno in 4-player multiplayer. It was actually pretty cool. But it was a little bit hard to grasp some of the finer details only because it was 4-player split screen on the broadcast. Nevertheless, I mean, there's still some pretty cool takeaways and some pretty good things that I think that we'll want to talk about today. So if you haven't already done so, I would love to have your subscription. Thank you so much for being here, fellow hunter. It's really great to be able to be connected and feel like I'm a part of this phenomenon as we're gearing up to what is looking to be the biggest game in Monster Hunter history. Let's get started. Awesome. So the first thing that I want to touch base on here, and we're going to move up to about 19 minutes. They had the panelists or the MC come out and introduce the cast here first, and then we had Ryozo Tsujimoto, Yuya Tokuda, and Kaname Fujioka along with Jonno, and then the interpreter. About 19 minutes in here. Wow, that was a lot of people. Oh my goodness. We can see that they're interacting in the camp. The first initial cutscene here, Alma gives you sort of that like presentation, sort of that, hey, this is what's up, this is what you're gonna do, gives you an idea of what you're supposed to do in the demo, but they're all gearing up in the base camp here. It's not clear to me why you can't see one another in the camp. But when you're navigating in the camp itself, if you're actually in the camp, you're talking to vendors, just like in Monster Hunter World, you can't see one another. But the moment that you traverse the edge of the camp, you can see one another again. And I think it's probably right here, Jonno, most evident on Jonno's screen right here. Watch this corner. Watch this corner right here. You will see, I think it's Ryozo, right? Yeah, Ryozo Tsujimoto. He's out there, he's hopping along. You'll be able to see it right in that corner once the camera pans. Look, there he goes. There he goes. And you can see Ryozo, even though Jonno was still in the field, but when you're actually in the village together, you can't see one another. I was actually really hoping that we would be able to see one another on the field and in the actual camp. I wanted to see that. Maybe in the village. Maybe the village is fine. I don't know. That wasn't clear to me. They didn't spend any time in the village in this segment. Similarly, we have Jonno's screen here. This is the item box and item pouch screen from the base camp menu. They did talk about how some of the menu controls within the camp, whether it's a pop-up camp or whether it's actually the main base camp, some of the menu controls are not currently active at present. So that's fair enough. I don't know if they're going to expand on that a bit, but it actually does look like you can do like infinite restocks if you really wanted to. Like you just fast travel back to camp, you top everything up, and then you're back out to the field again. Which in yesterday's video, I had said that, look, it looks like they're not doing that. Well, I guess I have to eat my words here. However, it just becomes functionally redundant with how the secrets pouch is going to resupply automatically on its own. Some of the basic items that you would get that would come out of the item box once you got to the map that you were going to hunt on. Well, you don't have to go to the box. You can just get it and it automatically happens. It's there. You don't need to go back to camp to restock on a lot of those necessities, which I think is quite cool. They're not taking the functionality away from the player. It looks like you can still do it, but there's just less need to. And if it's restocking at an interval of like roughly every 10 minutes, it works the same way that ingredients worked in Monster Hunter Wilds, when those would replenish and then you could eat at camp again, which that in and of itself has become functionally redundant if you saw the video yesterday. So they're doing a lot to streamline the process. They're doing a lot to streamline the gameplay. The things that were kind of quirky aspects of the mechanics or gameplay from World, they polished up so that way it's no longer necessary. I think that some people might look at that and say, hey, isn't that making it more like accessible, as if that's some sort of derogatory term to say that it's just easy for anybody? Well, no, I don't think that it is. I think that it's actually expanding on the formulas that they had at present and polishing them up so they're just smoother and they're less obtrusive. And I use that word quite a bit. The way that they have adapted a lot of these mechanics into Wilds, which are functionally similar or functionally replace that of World's mechanic, has made it so much more smooth and so much more integrated. I love that. Now, let's take a look at the top left here. Just hopped on the secret. That's pretty cool. They're chasing down the Doshiguma. All four of them have been hammering away at him. But okay, well, crowd control is a little more prevalent, I would say, in Wilds. And hop from the secret and bada bing, bada magic right into a mount. So I think that that's actually really important for all of the other players that were hamstrung by a much more grounded combat style. Now you don't have to worry about it, where you felt like, hey, maybe the insect glaive has a bit more of an advantage in comparison to other weapons because they could just hop up, right? Well, now you can do it on command. You also have the wedge beetles that was shown yesterday, where you can hoist yourself up with the slinger hook and all of a sudden you can mount from there. Every single weapon has just as much capacity as the next to be able to get a mount and to be able to fire for effect. It's really cool. Now, the group here decided that they were going to scuffle with Ray Dow. For whatever reason, they decided that was a good idea. I don't know, but poor Jonno here in the bottom left-hand corner is about to get splattered. And unfortunately, my camera is in the way, so bear with me. Boop! I'm missing. Watch Jonno's health bar right about here. I was talking about the dynamics of the health bars in yesterday's video, where some people don't seem to like it as much. It's definitely more flashy, definitely a little bit more eye-catching, which for me is great because when I get tunnel vision on the monster, I might not be paying attention to my health or my stamina for that matter. But here, watch what happens when Jonno gets splattered. Look at that. It's really calling attention to the player like, hey, you've taken a pretty heavy hit. Make sure that you're topping up your HP. Nice little touch. Make sure that the relevant details captures the hunter's attention at the time of relevance. It's really important that when we are flooded with information at all times, as we are in the hunt, that the most relevant information is what catches our eye the most. And it seems to have been incorporated quite nicely right into the HUD UI. Now right here, Yuya Tokuda actually just got hammered. He was not having a good time, and you can't see his HP bar either, but he's gonna hop up onto the secret here momentarily. Look at he got hurt. Call secret. That was what the recommended control was. That's because apparently he said that the secret will allow you to dodge automatically, or at least carry a couple of instant dodges just to get yourself out of harm's way. And whether or not I like that mechanic, I'm not sure as of the moment. What I can say is that at the very least, it will be useful for those moments where you find yourself completely trapped or stuck against a wall. And how many times I've had Kushala Daora just wind gust me into oblivion because I was pinned between a rock, a literal rock, and a windy place. So I think that it'll be useful for those moments where you actually find yourself completely pinned and stuck in what I would consider an unfair manner. I don't know to what degree that might be able to be abused, but it is very limited and it doesn't infinitely reduce the damage. It's just a couple of extra dodges to reduce damage, not completely obliterate or nullify the damage itself. during the course of the fight here, Ryozo, ever lover of the hammer that he be, really wanted to go hog wild with this and threw himself into the fight. We can see Ray Dao is not taking kindly to that, and oof, there's the cart. There's the cart. So Ryozo does end up carting. He goes back to one of the pop-up camps, which I was talking about yesterday. I was curious if perhaps you respawn. You get to pick what pop-up camp that you respawn at. Actually, what it does is it chooses it automatically. Whichever pop-up camp happens to be the closest is the one that you will respawn at, so that way there's less travel time on the foot between you and returning to the hunt, especially if you've got other fellow hunters that are relying on you in that moment to play your role, whatever that may be. It makes it a lot easier to get back into the hunt, get back into the action, and of course that's just more fun from a gameplay experience. And here the team is currently setting up for a attack. This is going to be a trap, not quite the trap that you might think, however. Here we go, there's the trap, the pitfall happens, and watch Ryozo Tsujimoto right up here. Ryozo up in the upper right hand corner. Oh, barrel bomb, but you're too far away. What are you doing? Oh, you can roll them. That's insane. I love the value that that brings, because then you won't just use it only when the monster is asleep or when the monster is fatigued, which it was just either that or you explode them back in world. So in this case, having the ability to load up some barrel bombs and just have everybody start hurling and just roll them that way is absolutely fantastic. I cackled a little bit when I saw, oh, and Kaname Fujioka just decided to, you know, let's pour one out for Kaname. Here we go. Oh, bless his soul. Here he is. He's trying his best, and oh dear. Well, word to the wise, barrel bombs are explosive. The more you know. Now, what I was curious about was where we get our quests from. It looked like we could just select quests on our own, but sure enough, you can. You do select quests. You can just pick a monster, begin field survey, post and depart, and that's the quest pipeline, which is pretty neat. Now, by my understanding, there's also going to be interactions with Alma, where you can talk to her for quests too, similarly to how you would the handler in World, where you could get quests from them as well. I assume that Alma is probably going to be for specific storyline quests or optional quests that are actually scripted assignments, where the rest of the gameplay loop is going to be you picking whatever quest from whatever monster that it is from the biome that you're in. It'll be a little bit of a melange of both of those sort of structured storyline MSQs that you would get from Alma, as well as the freeform quests that are more investigation style, but you get to pick and choose whichever one that you want. But there is now an assigned quest, or a quest that you can choose from the field map in accordance to the monster that you're looking to hunt. Also, Ryozo just decided to go bird watching a bit, which it was cute. The ecologists can celebrate with all of the endemic life that you can go explore and enjoy. There is the capture net too later in the video. I probably won't highlight it here, but where you can go capture things with the capture net, like the vigor wasp or other small endemic life. I assume you'll probably have a room that you can decorate with as well. Now, as you're out on the field, there are different recommended points or suggestion points that you can discover, such here, like check camp locations, and then you'll have that highlight that will say, hey, you can put a pop-up camp here. When you do, there's a little bit of an infographic or a little modal that pops up that will give you a little bit of information about it, but you see potential sites for pop-up camp. Sure enough, this is the location of where that pop-up camp is. By my understanding, you would have to put your pop-up camps in some of these predetermined locations, but each area should have its own predetermined location, at least if I'm understanding it correctly. Here we go. Now, safety level, dangerous. I touched on this yesterday, that these pop-up camps could be attacked. It's really advantageous to have a pop-up camp up close, so that way there's just less travel time between your respawn point or your refresh point in the event that you need to top up on some of those supplies and your monster, because the monster could just follow you back and say, hey, well, guess what? That's a nice camp you have. It'd be awful if something happened to it. And so the safety level is marked as dangerous because this is apparently close to a Doshagumo nest, or at least where Doshagumo happen to be predominantly active. Interesting touch. I don't know if you necessarily can fend them off, or if you get some sort of indication on the map when the Doshagumo or some other monster is near one of your pop-up camps. Maybe you have to quickly teleport there to defend your camp and scurry them away. I'm not entirely sure, but it sounds like if you happen to be scuffling with a monster in a quest already, or you're already in combat for some reason, that's when you would have to worry about the safety of your camp. Now, in my video going over the combat tutorial videos and the introduction videos, I talked about tracking and tracking monsters. That didn't seem to be the case. Tracking the monster via the scout flies. We didn't need to get tracks. We didn't need to get any of those things out on the field that we would think of, like footprints and the like. It appears that that's not true. It looks like we actually do. We got traces of digging for the Balahara here. I think that it's a little more spread out, but they did confirm that, hey, if it's a brand new monster, you do still have to track it in some capacity to be able to finally have it registered as a monster that you can just go and hunt. Otherwise, if your tracking isn't up for that monster, you do have to do a little bit of this here to make sure that your tracking level is high enough. But it does seem to give you, every time that they interact with the track, it seems that it gives you an item. I don't know if that's just because it's the demo and they're just trying to highlight some of this, but you get points like you would think of the points system in World. And then you sometimes got items in World from getting tracks as well. And here we go, 2 Balahara scale pluses just from the 2 track interactions. So I thought that was pretty neat. I do like the tracking system. I'm glad that it's not quite so prominent, but this is a very small vignette of what the actual game will be. Now here's another example of where we could place a pop-up camp. And so it says potential site for pop-up camps. The contrast to this here, once he does, this is a safety level of safe. This is well obscured. And it looks like you can have a total of 3 in the Windward Plains in this case. Pretty neat, but more importantly, this right here, snow herb, and this sort of frozen stalagmite, stalactite structure. This looks like it's where you need to go, or where you would go. It's like an underground cavern under the Windward Plains where you would go to a separate biome. So I'm curious what it's like from going from biome to biome. I'm very curious how it's going to manifest. The way that this entire map seems to be structured is that it does look like you should be able to migrate from area to area. Will there be a load screen from predominant map to predominant map, or will it be seamless in itself and you would just have some sort of storyline element that would prevent you from traversing it until later? I'm not 100% sure. Hopefully it's not just invisible walls that say, hey, no, you can't do that. That would be a little bit silly. One other honorable mention, and this was, I think, to Yuya Tokuda's chagrin, but during the fight with the Doshagumo and the Rei Dao, Ryozo said, yeah, I'm a very helpful hammer. It just went fishing. Yeah, he went fishing. But he did catch a fish, to which he received applause. So apparently the crowd liked that. But the other piece of it was that he comments and says, hey, look, you're not using bait anymore. You're actually using lures. Now, the distinction between that, I'm assuming that a lure means that you're going to have a reusable lure that you can just use every single time, as opposed to having to have a particular sort of bait where you have a limited number of that bait. Trying to get great sushi fish was, that was... Anyways, so thank you all so much for watching. I know that this was a little bit shorter, but there was just a few little beats that I wanted to cover. I am doing a giveaway for Monster Hunter Wilds until the game opens for pre-orders, so please, the link is in the description below. Get your entries in while you can. I would love to have you back for more. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I would love to hear from you in the comments below, like what you're most excited about from these couple of days. And then I do plan to do another video on day 3 kind of recapping that as well, depending upon how much of the information or how much new information or things that I can find from that video once they are done streaming it. So expect to have another video by the weekend, and thank you everybody so much for watching. Until then, may the Sapphire Star guide your way.